There will come a time on the planet Earth when science and technology will be long forgotten, when humanity will rise from the ashes of nuclear holocaust, when wizards will rule the world. 20th Century Fox presents...
Attention! Behold!
Well, hello and season's greetings in my cellar. There will be one, let's see, let me look at my calendar again. Okay, you'll be watching this on the 21st, and then the next one won't be until the 4th. So between now and then will be Christmas and New Year. So, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'll see you in 2 weeks after this. Well, on the second week. Missing a week. There we go. Got it. All right, let's go. Oh, crap. That's it. Just throw it all over. Oh, I gotta see which is the first page. All right, I guess this is it. Let's see. Okay, we were talking about running multiple DMs. Seems as though it's more common than I was aware of. Multi-DMing can work, but there always has to be the arc builder, and all must have a common play style. I have successfully had multi-DMs in my 40-plus year Greyhawk campaign. Everyone was a player, and several were DMs, but it was my world. The DM's DM, one could say. Well, I'm not going to go out on a limb and say it can't be done. And I'm certain that given a period of time playing together many times, that you couldn't all fall into familiar and similar patterns, and in which case that would be swell. But a newer group, a more fractious group, a more fractured group, that would be utter chaos. Now, we're going to talk more along these lines in a later comment. It's this one. Players dropping in and out. Isn't that baked into the original rules? Says one referee from 4 to 50 players. To me, that suggests drop in, drop out. Can you elaborate? Certainly, you can do drop in, drop out. What you must absolutely adhere to is a very accurate and rigid calendar. That's why we had multiple players in our stable, if you will, because player A and player B might be 4 days away from each other in reference to the overland map. Okay, you can see where that would be a problem. Healing. In Lake Geneva, we played much more by-the-book healing, and so you could be laid up for a week or longer, and therefore unable to play. So you have to keep a very rigid time reference, time record, time scale. Almost a spreadsheet. With that, you could have dozens of players. Now, the 500 was probably pretty much an exuberant over-exaggeration by Gary. So, when it was written, but you can do it. You can have 70 or 80 players in a given campaign. Some are active over here, some are active over there. Now I'm talking about the world map or whatever your map is. Some are active down here, some are recuperating, some are studying, whatever, but you have to have an accurate map. It's the same way when we used to play Fight in the Skies. Fight in the Skies has a very rigid structure of what planes can be flown during what time periods, which means which ones are likely to face each other. And you had to adhere to what was available during that month of the war, just as you'd have to pick whichever character out of your stable was available based on location, where he was, health, other things. So yeah, it can be done. Is it practical? Well, I don't know. I wouldn't want to keep all those records myself, but then I'm a lazy bugger. What do you say to a player who claims roleplay, solving problems, and thinking during a game is not what D&D should be, claiming it should only be killing monsters and taking their gold? Been recently running into folks who claim old D&D is hack and slash only. Well, I'm fairly certain these people that are claiming this are not my age or within 10 years of my age. And that is old D&D, original in its first years. In the beginning, was it a lot of kill shit and take their stuff? You bet. We didn't know any better. People were learning how to build a campaign, a continual story arc that had branches flowing out of and into the timeline of the campaign. So yeah, we went out and we killed shit and we took their stuff. At one point in time, there was a prevalent thing going on in the game, that vast amorphous world of people playing, where everything that got killed got slit open to see if they'd swallowed anything valuable, particularly looking for gems, figuring that they wouldn't dissolve in the gastric juices. That's what it was during the earliest couple, maybe 3.5 years, and it was evolving all that time. When I started down at Carbondale with that first group, we had a very simple, let's go find this thing, and very simple, no end game to it. Let's go do these things and see what we can find in this ruin. So they aren't wrong, but they certainly don't have the nuance. They certainly don't understand that that was what was done in lieu of something better. Cogent storylines, campaign arcs, related adventures. Those came along and they killed a lot of that. So if they don't want to think, let them go find another game. I mean, come on. They can rail at it whatever they want until somebody, either in real life or in game life, bops them over the head and tells them to cool it. And believe me, when I was playing in Lake Geneva, after I got there, thinking was a big part of the game. Believe me, it was a big part of the game. Solving problems? I defy anybody to sit down and to have sat down at a game that Gary or Rob were running and tell me there wasn't problem solving involved. There was always problem solving involved. It's just, if they want to just kill shit and take their stuff, just have them captured by a bunch of kobolds or something really ignominious and put them in an arena to fight monsters. Get their wish. Alright. I must say that the older editions have some aspects to them that I like and some that I don't, just like the newer ones. That said, newer editions have more things that I don't like. Now I'll just be trying new games to fit my kind of fun. And that's what you should. And when you're looking at new rules, do that before you invest in a hardbound set of rules. If there's a PDF available, buy it. And if you like the game well enough to get a hardbound copy or a softbound but a physical copy, fine. But PDFs ought to be a great preview if it's one available. Something we didn't have. We had to shell out the money for the game. Thanks for your views on rotating DMs. Most likely needed some more context, which, as you stated, if you're all having fun, then go for it. Group started in '94 and had multiple DMs over the decades. All right, now, from the question, that's not what I read into it. From the question, one of the questions I read, it was like every couple 3 weeks, or maybe even every other week, you ought to need a DM. And no, I don't see how that can possibly work, unless you just memorize rote results and waiting for. Anyway, I don't think that'll work. By the way, our game was 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. one day a week. Okay, and so that's what made this idea surface. Yep, if the arc ended midway through the Tomb of Doom, the next DM was able to change the maps and outcomes. That was a cool source of fun for us. Yeah, okay. I can see where that would be an interesting aspect of, whoops, where are we now? What are we doing now? As long as you don't, drop them into the middle of something they can't handle. But a new DM every week, I don't see it happening. I see a lot of potential wicked and evil things coming out of something like that. Like 2 or 3 of the DMs getting together and just going, oh hell, let's just hose them. Watch this. And I'm not even saying wanting to do that, wanting to give the group a tougher test is a bad thing. But if 3 DMs conspired, that could be lethal. Thanks for answering my lineman questions. I suppose I should offer an answer to the question you posed to me and a clarification on my DM bombshell objection. I quite agree that in a situation like being the new guy at work, most people will either try to fit in or at least not go completely against the grain. Okay, this is a really long one. I don't ever tell them my alignment when I'm introducing my character to the group. Don't generally suggest that players share their character sheets with each other. That should come out through in-game interactions. I agree wholeheartedly on that aspect. Unless the party of characters has a practice of casting no alignment on everyone in the group, characters shouldn't have that knowledge about each other. I played for many levels a drow elf fighter assassin with an alignment of neutral evil. He was, by far and away, the most evil character I ever played, in the sense that he was entirely self-serving. That said, he wasn't the most prone to violence, since he felt killing was something for which he should be paid and didn't give freebies. In fact, he didn't do any mustache twirling or maniacal laughing. Over time, some members of the party definitely had moments where they weren't comfortable with something I suggested, or just often something they suspected I had done outside of their direct knowledge. I especially had frequent tense interactions with the de facto party leader, a ranger, with an alignment of neutral good. The party never did cast no alignment on me, although at one point they did discuss doing it. All of us were neutral in some part or other. Most of the other players played their characters on the basis that they couldn't prove I'd actually done some of the things he suspected, and that I may have been a monster, but I was their monster. Of course, he would have sold them for worm's meat if he had served his needs. I do think there's some metagaming involved in the decision not to find out my alignment. They couldn't decide whether it should be done secretly or done openly. Secretly was ultimately seen as a betrayal of trust, but I think a good portion of the characters are afraid he would have done to their characters what he would have done to their characters if they revealed his alignment openly. About the DM bombshell bit, I don't object to players having sudden ideas for some new way or direction to take the character. I specifically object to explicitly telling players to intentionally conceal major elements of the character's nature until midway through the campaign, which puts the DM in the position of having to go along with it because Gary told me to do it, or making it a deal breaker and being ready to just walk away from running that campaign. Okay, number of things in there. I don't think anybody's alignment should be anybody else's business but their own. Now, situationally, that may change at some point. You may have to reveal an alignment to be able to perform a task or a function. Nothing to be done there. Then again, it's up to the DM and what kind of things he sets out there that would require the alignments to be known. I don't think it's any of the other player characters' information. They might be able to divine your alignment by parsing your actions. Dear Tim, have you ever introduced a Santa-like character into a game, campaign, Wheel of Blame, or otherwise? Might be a fun hook, especially if the Krampus is involved. Thanks for another year of great year of shows, opinions, insights, and curmudgeonations. I wish you a very Merry Christmas this time due to your schedule. Hope you have a great time with family and friends. Yes, I did. There is one of the two adventures that were reprinted as the Lost Adventures of Gary Con has a character that is a demented, maniacal Frosty the Snowman. That's absolutely who I had in mind when I created it. And he's pretty cool. When you think about it, how do you hurt a snowman except with heat? Chunk a rock at it, it'll just go through him and heal. At least they do in my world. Cut it with a sword. Now, a bludgeoning weapon could have some effect. And if nothing else, if there's a magic spell upon it or whatever, every time you hit it with a bludgeoning weapon, it would get smaller and smaller because there was less snow left close enough together to reform. He's the Galadoon is what he's called in the adventure. And he's not fun at all. But again, with everything else that I generally try to write, everything has a weak spot. And in this case, the two monsters that figure the largest in the adventure, in the icy bits, are diametrically opposed in thermodynamics. One made of snow and one producing steam. Love the song at the end. Well, good. I'm sure they'll be glad to hear that. They wrote that song for me in return for a year's worth of advertising, and I probably went longer than that before we decided to pull their ad off the back. In the military, blue sky is a reference to bullshit. Yes, I know. Busted. Thought I'd keep it clean. Yeah, we used to blue sky sitting around the shop all the time, sitting on the flight line between launches or recoveries, yes. I just thought I would make it sound nicer. Robins and clouds and sparkling sun as opposed to bullshit. But that's what we did. We'd sit in there, we'd bullshit. What do you think of the idea of role-playing as decision-making by players? Are the older editions of D&D easier for the DM to shift the game's focus on player decisions and role-playing? If I understand this correctly, it's a fairly complex question. I don't care for role-playing so involved that somebody playing a certain character, type of race of character, only eats certain thing, and I don't care about that level of character development. I don't care. Player wants to do it, that's fine. But I don't. As DM, I don't care about that. I don't care if Twinkly the elf only prefers Waterford watercrackers. Okay, I don't care. But knowing that Twinkly is an elf and what elves can and can't do, that's important. I think a good DM, rather than shift the players, will pick up on their subtle variations, even if they're only momentary, and go, oh yeah, okay, what was that? And don't lead them down that path, but maybe part the bushes so they get a look down that path as a possible thing to explore. Or never force them down that path. Never. So how well they role play, I don't care. In terms of individuals, how well they role play in terms of party cohesion, staying true to their core beliefs and practices, and that certainly that's important. The rest is fluff, and if you want it, fine. Cult seems to be the WotC answer because no monsters, etc., can be evil. And it goes on to say that WotC can pound sand for sure. Yeah, I mean, they're trying to sanitize. They're trying to sanitize several hundred years of mythology in just about everybody's culture. Everybody's mythology has some evil in it. There can be no good without evil. There can be no evil without good. That dichotomy must exist. That balance must be maintained. I love this channel. Just a reminder. Oh yeah. I have a Patreon, and even if you can't afford to give all the time, it seems like a good time to send him a coffee or two for Christmas in exchange for all the entertainment he gives us. I doubt the greedy fudgers at YouTube pay much these days. I don't get any money from this video except from my Patreon, and it breaks down to a ludicrous amount of money per hour for what I do. Long ago, I was approached about monetizing, and I said no. I don't want my curmudgeonly rants interrupted by a birdseed commercial or whatever. Just no. It's not why I do it. I appreciate the Patreon. Don't get me wrong. When you're living on Soch, yeah, I appreciate it. And I thank all my Patreons, and I keep promising them a film of my basement, which I'm going to do this Christmas. And all my Patreon subscribers will get a free tour. I'm doing it on my phone, so don't look for a big Hollywood production, but I'm going to do a tour of the Curmudgeon Cellar. All right. Wow, is that it? Well, that was a quick week, wasn't it? Whew. 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 Quick week. All right, I'm going to give out a plug. I've started to look at Shadow Dark, so I'll be talking about that later on. And I want to give out a shout out to all of you that like to play turn-based strategy games on the computer. Board games without the chits. And fantasy in particular, and that's Age of Wonders 4. They keep, they're on about their, well, I don't know, they've, since I bought it, there's been at least 10 or 12 upgrades. They just keep tweaking it and making it better, and it's on Steam, and I really recommend you at least go look at it. It can become expensive if you opt out for all the bundles, but you don't need any of the bundles to get the basic one and play it. Even back in its earlier iterations, I always felt Age of Wonders had a real D&D-ish feel to it. It was your hero would get together 6 guys, and out they'd go and do things. Now, at the time, it was supposed to be like 6 platoons or 6 squads, or I never got that feel, and I don't get it now. I don't know what it's supposed to be. I don't get that feel now. But it's a really interesting game, and I recommend you, if you're interested in turn-based strategy, fantasy particularly, you'll like this. I really don't have anything else. I'll wish you all a Merry Christmas, and or Happy Hanukkah, or solstice, or however you choose to honor and recognize the season, as well as a Happy New Year, because I won't be back before then either. And we can only hope. What can we hope for 25? Well, many of us can hope that our worst dreams don't come true following the January inauguration. We can hope that we get some more good games. We can hope that we'll make... Wouldn't it be great if every one of us made 4 new gaming friends this year? Either new friends that already played, or new people teaching them to play. And then I got something else that I do on Facebook that I have for the last 3 years. There's a rescue organization located in Colorado called Wild Animal Sanctuary. And every year, in lieu of gifts, I ask that people donate money to them. Now, if every one of you that watches this regularly were to donate just $5, this is an amazing organization. They have nothing but big carnivores and predators on hundreds of acres running wild. Every kind of bear you can imagine except polar bears because of the climate. They even have a third facility that's wild mustangs. Really good. The Wild Animal Sanctuary. Go look them up online. I'm going to ask Jim if he can find a link for them to put at the end of this. And if you can, my birthday's the second week in January, the 14th. When I set that up, if you could, drop by, and it's not coming to me. It's going to them. It's buying more meat and potatoes, and it's more cement to build natural layers and sculpt the land in Colorado for these magnificent animals. I went once many years ago, and I've never fallen out of love with it. It's amazing if you ever get the chance to be in Colorado to see it. Their mile-long walk across the grounds, up in the air, looking down at all the amazing animals is nothing short of fantastic. So, have a Merry Christmas, have a Happy New Year, don't drink too much eggnog, and I will see you in 2025. Dodata Govi for the last time in 2024. Hello, and welcome to my Cellar.
The curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Last man around when them rates went down. Calling Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine. He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's brain. DSR and fantasy, collection of micro armory, Titan with tramp under a tree, high as could be. He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar.